How Jason Statham went from London streets to Hollywood. Let's be honest, when you see Jason Statham on a movie poster, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting a man who is in complete control, a master of his environment, an icon of cool, calculated toughness. He's the guy who walks away from an explosion without looking back. He's the modern-day action hero. We see the end result, the chiseled physique, the multi-million-dollar movies, the beautiful cars, the glamorous Hollywood lifestyle. And it's easy to assume he was just one of the lucky ones. Maybe he came from money, or had connections, or just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But that's not the story. That's not even close. Before the fame, before anyone in Hollywood knew his name, Jason Statham was just another kid grinding it out on the rough, unforgiving streets of London. He was a hustler, a survivor, a young man with a failed dream behind him and a completely uncertain future in front of him. His rise wasn't a stroke of luck. It was a brittle, relentless climb from the absolute bottom. It was a story forged in blood, sweat, and the kind of stubborn determination that refuses to be broken. So today, we're not just going to talk about his movies. We're going to reveal the raw, unfiltered story of how Statham clawed his way from nothing to become one of the most bankable action stars on the planet. His journey isn't just inspiring, it's a masterclass in what it takes to win when the world has already counted you out. Part 1. The Foundation. Discipline forged in a pool of chlorine. Long before he was a household name, Jason Statham's world was small, cold, and smelled like chlorine. From a young age, his life was completely consumed by one thing: competitive diving. Now, when we say competitive diving, don't picture a fun summer hobby. This was an elite, all-consuming pursuit. For over a decade, Statham was a key member of Britain's national diving squad. His life was a blur of 5 a.m. alarms, grueling hours in the gym, and countless trips up the long ladder to the 10-meter platform, a terrifying 3-story drop that would make most of us sick with fear. His entire youth was a testament to sacrifice. While other kids were chasing girls and getting into trouble, he was perfecting his form, pushing his body past its limits. This was his boot camp. He didn't know it at the time, but he wasn't just learning how to dive. He was learning the core tenets that would define the rest of his life. Unbreakable discipline. You don't become a national-level athlete by accident. It requires a level of self-control and routine that is almost inhuman. You show up every single day, whether you feel like it or not. How to master fear. Standing on that high dive, preparing to launch your body into a series of complex twists and turns is a mental battle. He learned how to control his fear and execute under pressure. The power of repetition. He performed the same dives thousands upon thousands of times until it was pure muscle memory. He learned that mastery isn't about magic, it's about relentless, mind-numbing repetition. His ultimate goal was the Olympics. He poured his soul into it, and in the end, he fell short. He competed for England in the 1990 Commonwealth Games and didn't place where he wanted. For many, that would be the end of the story, a crushing failure. But for Statham, it was just the foundation being laid. The dream of a gold medal died, but the discipline, the toughness, and the work ethic were permanently burned into his DNA. He just needed a new place to apply them. Part 2. The Hustle. Learning life on the London pavement. With his athletic career over and no real qualifications to speak of, Statham had to figure out how to pay the bills. He could have gotten a simple, safe job. Instead, he hit the streets. Following in his father's footsteps, he became a pitchman, a street vendor selling dodgy goods to tourists and locals on the streets of London. This wasn't a cute market stall. This was the Wild West of street commerce. He sold counterfeit perfume and cheap jewelry out of a briefcase, always one step ahead of the law. This is the chapter of his life that Hollywood loves to ignore. It wasn't glamorous, it was a grind, but it was here, on the pavement, that he got his real-world PhD in psychology and survival. He wasn't just selling junk, he was selling a story. He had to be a performer, a charmer, and a quick thinker. He learned how to read people in an instant, how to build rapport, how to be convincing. He learned how to handle rejection, not from a diving judge, but from 100 people a day who would ignore him or tell him to get lost. This was the hustle. It taught him resourcefulness. It taught him confidence, not the polished confidence of a movie star, but the gritty, earned confidence of a man who knows he can survive on his wits alone. While his diving career gave him physical discipline, the streets gave him a mental edge. He was tough, authentic, and he had a silver tongue. He was unknowingly building the perfect resume for a future he couldn't even imagine. Part 3. The Break, where grit and opportunity collide. For years, this was Statham's life. A mix of odd jobs, modeling gigs for some extra cash, and the ever-present street hustle. An acting career was so far off the radar, it wasn't even a joke. Then came the phone call that changed everything. A young, ambitious director named Guy Ritchie was casting his first film, a gritty crime comedy called Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He was looking for someone to play a street-smart con man, and he was sick of the well-trained actors who came in trying to act tough. He wanted someone who was the real deal. Thanks to a modeling connection, Ritchie heard about this guy, Jason, a former national diver who now sold black market goods on the street. It was such a bizarre combination that he had to meet him. The audition was legendary. Ritchie didn't ask him to read a scene. He handed him a piece of fake jewelry and said, "Sell this to me." This was the moment. This was the collision of his two worlds. Statham didn't need to get into character. He was the character. He launched into the fast-talking, charismatic pitch that he had perfected over years on the streets. He was so good at it that Guy Ritchie actually bought the worthless trinket. When Ritchie tried to give it back, Statham argued with him, refusing to break character. He was hired right there on the spot. Think about that. He didn't get his big break despite his strange background. He got it because of it. The years of diving gave him the imposing physical presence, and the years on the street gave him the raw, undeniable authenticity that no acting school could ever teach. His past wasn't a liability, it was his one-in-a-million secret weapon. Part 4. The Climb. How to stay on top. Getting your first break is one thing. Building a 20-year career as one of the most recognizable action stars in the world is something else. This is where Statham's true character shines. He didn't just get lucky, he outworked everyone. He took the discipline from his diving days and applied it directly to his new craft. Most famously, he does the vast majority of his own stunts. In an era of CGI and stunt doubles, Statham is the real deal. He's hanging out of cars, jumping from buildings, and engaging in complex fight choreography himself. Why? Because the discipline is all he's ever known. That's the athlete in him. He knows that authenticity is his brand, and you can't fake it. Furthermore, he understood his lane. He knew he wasn't going to be winning Oscars for dramatic roles. He was the tough guy, the anti-hero, the thinking man's action star. He embraced it and perfected it. He built a brand around himself that is so clear and powerful that his name alone is a genre. His climb in Hollywood wasn't about reinventing himself. It was about doubling down on who he already was, a disciplined, hard-working guy with an authentic edge. The Blueprint. What we can learn from Statham. Jason Statham's story is more than just an entertaining biography. It's a blueprint for anyone who feels like they started at the bottom. Embrace your failure. Statham's diving career failed, but it gave him the mental and physical foundation for everything that came next. Your setbacks and perceived failures are often your greatest training grounds. Find the lesson in the grind. His time on the streets was tough and unglamorous, but it taught him more about people and performance than any school could ever. No matter how humble your job is, there is a lesson in it that you can use later. Your story is your superpower. He wasn't the most experienced actor, but he was the most authentic. The unique, messy, weird parts of your history are what make you stand out. Don't hide them, own them. Outwork everyone. Luck gets you in the door. Relentless hard work is what keeps you in the room and builds a legacy. Statham never stopped training, never stopped pushing himself, and that's why he's still on top. So, the next time you watch a Jason Statham film, look beyond the explosions and the fight scenes. You're watching living proof that it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is the discipline you build, the hustle you learn, and the unbreakable will to never, ever give up.